Today I'm going to give you some underrated horror movies and thrillers that I feel like are so underrated and deserve more love. So let's go.
Live or die. Make your choice.
Hi guys, this is Joshua J. Show Horror back again. Today I picked some horror movies and a few thriller movies that I think a lot of people don't talk about enough. I think some of these movies deserve a lot more love than they get. I generally like to love some of these movies, and I feel like these movies aren't being talked about nearly enough. So I got a huge stack here. I think I picked out like 20 movies, so I will go through these as quick as I can. But yeah, let's talk about some movies that deserve some love here. First off, let's start off with this little Malcolm McDowell movie called The Caller. Now this is like a thriller from the late 80s. I never heard of this movie until the Vinegar Syndrome released this movie. Now I gotta say, this was such a stellar movie. It starts off with like Malcolm McDowell, he gets in a car accident and he ends up at this cabin where this girl's staying. In this movie, it gets gradually more intense, more suspenseful. The performances from Madeline Smith and Malcolm McDowell are so well done. And the ending to this is an ending you will never see coming. I pretty much absolutely loved The Caller the first time I seen it, and I will definitely be watching this movie again. This movie was so good, and for a movie that I never heard of and I don't hear a lot of people talking about, definitely check this out. I highly recommend The Caller with Malcolm McDowell. Now this is a remake of a early 2000s movie, but I think it's a very well done remake, and they change it up quite a bit. The general concept is kind of the same, but like they change it up so much. But it was a remake that I ended up really liking, the Wrong Turn remake. I was very surprised by this movie. I enjoyed this movie so much, and honestly, besides like the first movie, this is the best movie in the franchise. Like the first movie and this movie, the rest of this franchise is a very weak, very poor franchise overall. But this movie was easily the best or second best of all of them. So I can't recommend Wrong Turn enough. If you like the concept of the Eliza Dushku early 2000s one, check this out. They change it enough that you will probably enjoy this. It's not a beat for beat remake by any means, but yeah, Wrong Turn, check this thing out. Good movie actually. It's a big surprise movie. Next up, this isn't really a horror film. I'd say it's more like a thriller, a little bit of action thrown in there. But this movie came out of nowhere for me. This is The Hunt. This has Hilary Swank, and I believe this came out in 2019, but this is a kind of a non-stop thrill ride. Like all these people just kind of wake up. They were on a plane and they gotta like kill each other, or it's hard to explain. But the actress Betty Gilpin does so good in this movie, and like the end of the movie ends up with like her and Hilary Swank like fighting each other to death, and I enjoyed this movie so much. I've already seen this twice since I bought this Blu-ray. I felt like this movie came and went, like nobody talked about this thing, and I'm like, man, I loved this movie. So I don't understand like why it's not being talked about even more. In my eyes, this was like such a fun movie. So look for The Hunt with Betty Gilpin and Hilary Swank. If you like action, you like a little bit of violence, you like a couple twists and turns in your movie, watch this movie like right now. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Check out The Hunt. Now we got a movie that Arrow Video released, and I never heard of this slasher from the 80s, and I had so much fun with this. And it like the first half is like just a fun 80s movie, and it turns into like a revenge slasher movie, and I enjoyed the crap out of this. This has got to be one of the more underrated slasher movies from the 80s, Hell High. So if you've never seen Hell High, if you like 80s slashers, check this out. It does take about 45 minutes. It takes about halfway through the movie to get to the actual slasher movie of the 80s, but I will say the first half of this movie is so fun too that it's worth getting to the second half. I enjoyed the first half. I enjoyed the characters of this entire movie that it made the first half so enjoyable before I ever got to the slasher film. Yeah, I really enjoyed Hell High, so definitely check this movie out if you never heard of it. I can't recommend this enough. If you're an 80s slasher fan, if you're a kind of a revenge fan, like revenge flicks, can't recommend Hell High enough. And I believe this movie was released in 1986, so it definitely has a great 80s vibe to it, as well as being a decent slasher by the end of it. So yeah, Hell High. If you'd never heard of this, look for this movie right now. Check it out if you're a slasher fanatic. Alright, this is what I like to call an 80s cheese fest at its finest. Another movie I never heard of until I bought this Blu-ray, that is Girlfriend from Hell. This is a total 80s cheese fest, horror / comedy, but it's so fun. If you just love having an awesome 80s vibe, check this movie out ASAP. And it's like about a girl who gets possessed by the devil, but it's done so funny, and just the 80s style and everything is, it's definitely super 80s. It came out in 89, I believe, but I had a blast. So Girlfriend from Hell, can't recommend that enough, and I just feel like nobody ever talks about this movie. Now we got a sequel to, I think the first movie is very average. It's kind of a PG-13 version of Saw, but I actually enjoyed the heck out of Escape Room 2 Tournament of Champions, and this comes with a alternate extended cut, but I highly recommend the theatrical cut over the extended because I really enjoy the theatrical cut. I thought the extended cut kind of ruined the movie. It has like a completely different beginning, a different ending, but the theatrical cut is the cut that I really recommend. And I think this movie is really fun. It's still essentially a watered down PG-13 version of Saw for the most part, but this movie just ramps up the fun a lot more from the first movie. And we got two characters from the first movie that carry over, so by the time we get to this one, I actually really care about the two people from the first film. But if you just want a fun time killer, Escape Room Tournament of Champions is a good way to go. And I feel like this came out like a blip in the radar at the theater, and then it just went. But I enjoy this movie so much. If you haven't watched this one yet, definitely check this one out. This is a really good time. So that was Escape Room 2. Next we have a thriller with Renee Zellweger, and I believe this was delayed for many years until it was released. Case 39. I absolutely love Case 39. I go into this movie not knowing anything, and I think you'll be surprised, you'll be shocked. It's kind of one of those movies where you think it's going one way, and then they do like a twist about halfway through the movie, and then it's like a different movie kind of. But I thought Renee Zellweger did so good in this. I thought the little girl in this did so good. It's just really kind of suspenseful, and just a very underrated movie that I generally love. So I just feel like this movie does not get enough love. Like, it's just so good in my eyes. It's hard to explain this movie without giving it away, but it does start off with like Renee Zellweger is like a caseworker, and she gets this little girl's case, and her parents try to like kill her, and you're not sure why. Like, just watch this movie, and Renee Zellweger takes this little girl in. You just gotta watch this. I can't give anything else away. Just a great movie, Case 39. Alright, next up we have a little like revenge thriller from the early 90s. Another movie I never heard of till The Awesome Vinegar Syndrome released it on Blu-ray with great transfer and some great extras. But that is Blood Games. Never heard of this movie, early 90s. This movie was so fun, kind of suspenseful in parts. It was just such a well done movie, and I absolutely loved it. After I watched it, when I bought this Blu-ray, I think I immediately watched it again like the next day or so. That's how much I enjoyed this. But it's like about two baseball teams that one team is a team of girls and another team's a team of guys, and like the girls win the baseball game or whatever, and the guys get pissed off, and somebody ends up getting killed, and then there's like this cat and mouse game and everything. Just a really well done movie that why the heck has nobody talked about this movie. I love blood games, so check this out. It is so well done. You gotta watch Blood Games. Alright, next we got Bereavement. Now this is a fun little horror thriller. It kind of has some vibes of John Carpenter's Halloween. You could kind of tell that that movie inspired this movie a little bit. But Bereavement does star a very young Alexandra Daddario. She's like from San Andreas to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D and all that. But I can't highly recommend this enough. I love the vibe of Bereavement, and it's actually a prequel to the movie Malevolence, which I never seen that movie, but I love this movie so much. And you kind of get in the head of a serial killer. Just some great vibes. Just check out Bereavement, and if you love Halloween, you will definitely get some vibes of Halloween. That definitely inspired Bereavement, so definitely check out Bereavement. I don't think you'll be disappointed, and like this is another like independent film that nobody hardly ever talks about, but check that out. Now, if you watch my channel for a period of time, you know I love cheesy movies. Like if it's fun, it doesn't matter if it's bad or anything. Now, here's a little movie that came out in 2013. I probably just watched it on Netflix or something, and I had a blast, and I could watch this anytime. It is All Cheerleaders Die. This is just a straight up cheese fest. And you got hot chicks in this movie. You got witchcraft stuff going on. You got people coming back from the dead. You got an awesome ending that kind of sets up a sequel that never happened. I would have loved a sequel to this. If you just want a cheesy, fun time, All Cheerleaders Die is just a fun way to go. So if you haven't checked this out, even if you love 80s cheese fest, this is a little more modern, but it's just so fun. So check out All Cheerleaders Die. If just having fun is something you like to do with a movie, this is one of them. Now we got it's like an 80s thriller with Jodie Foster, The Accused. This is a rape movie about Jodie Foster. She gets raped. It's right at the beginning. I'm not spoiling hardly anything. And then it kind of is followed by like the court case. But Jodie Foster, I think, gives such a stellar performance, like as good as her performance in like Silence of the Lambs or anything. Jodie Foster, I think, is such a great actress. But yeah, and it's very suspenseful. It's kind of sad at points, but it's such a well done movie from the 80s, and I just feel like not near enough people talk about The Accused. So definitely check this movie out if you want a very serious, heavy tone, but with great performances. Even Kelly McGillis does really good in this movie too. So The Accused with Jodie Foster, this is like a 9 out of 10 movie for me. It's like a near perfect movie that not near as many people is talking about that should be talking about. So The Accused. Now you could say this is underrated. It's in a huge franchise. It's probably one of the biggest horror franchises of all time. But I feel like Saw 4 is the one in the franchise that really gets crapped on, or Saw 4 is the one that a lot of people jump ship off the franchise after Saw 3. But honestly, for me, Saw 4 is like my top 2 or 3 favorite Saw movies. Saw is my favorite series of all time, so I'm so biased towards Saw. But I think Saw 4, it's like a lot of people complain that it's very chaotic. It's very fast paced. You got like even like a little bit of a prequel to John Kramer in here with a little bit of more of his backstory mixed with like such a chaotic pace. But that is exactly why I love Saw 4, and I love the twist at the end that a lot of people, some people was confused and complain about. But I've seen this movie so many times that everything makes sense kind of in the Saw series for me now, because I've seen the movie, all the franchise so many times. I love that it jumps around in time, or is like a side cool, or whatever you want to call this. And you have like the added mystery, especially the first time. You're like, how are they going to continue Saw without Jigsaw, because Jigsaw died in Saw 3. And you have the amazing practical effects of Jigsaw's autopsy. You have the added mystery again of who's another killer that's going to take over. They got to reveal that by the end of this movie. I even love Officer Rigg, or SWAT Commander Rigg. I love that he's like more the focus. We also get introduced to Strom in this, and I love Strom. I wish he lived longer than Saw 5, because I think Strom is a very great character in the franchise. You get the return of Donnie Wahlberg in here. Like, there is so much going on in this, and it's so chaotic. But that's exactly why I love Saw 4. And that's exactly why I love this movie so much. And this is the movie that, like, I really liked the first 3 Saw movies. But honestly, this was the movie that made me obsessed, completely obsessed with the Saw franchise. You would think, what, Saw 4 did that? Yeah, Saw 4 did that. I watched it like 3 or 4 times in the theater. And a lot of people say they like Saw 5. A lot of people prefer Saw 5 over 4 because he's slower paced. But give me this chaotic pace. That's why I like it. I like this quite a bit more than Saw 5. So Saw 4, I feel like it gets crapped on so much. But in my eyes, I think this movie is amazing. Now we got another movie that Vinegar Syndrome, of all boutique labels, released on Blu-ray. And I absolutely love this movie. Fade to Black. This is like about a guy who like dresses up. He's like obsessed with movies, horror movies, and he dresses up as like horror movie characters when he goes around to kill people. But it's like a really good character study. The killer in this, I feel like you get in his head a little bit, and I think the acting is really well done. And I just think this movie is like pretty great in my eyes, and I feel like not enough people have seen this. Like I said, I never heard of Fade to Black until this Blu-ray release, but I can't recommend this movie enough. If you want to get in the character's head a little bit, you still got a little bit of a slasher element. You got a guy who's obsessed with movies, so if you love movies, you'll probably like this movie too. But Fade to Black. If you haven't seen this, stop what you're doing. Watch this right now. This is such a good movie. Now, let's throw a monster movie in there. Another movie. I can't believe how many movies these boutique labels have released that I watched for the first time and enjoyed the crap out of it. This is a monster movie with amazing practical effects from the 80s, I believe, The Kindred. This movie is so well done. If you just want like awesome practical effects, if you like John Carpenter's The Thing, check this out. This movie is really fun. You got a couple characters I enjoyed in this, but it's mainly a practical effects extravaganza. But if that's what you want, snatch this up, watch it. And this Stillberg from Blue Underground is amazing. The transfer on this was amazing. But yeah, I recommend this Blu-ray release as well. Just look at this. This is the monster, The Kindred. Some cool kills, just amazing practical effects. Just monster movie fun at its finest, I think. The Kindred, just a very underrated movie. This is a very, I think, like nobody hardly talks about this no more, but this is a Jamie Lee Curtis, late 90s sci-fi horror, I guess you'd say. It's definitely a horror from 99. That is Virus. Now, I think this kind of gets crapped on and like nobody talks about it, But I actually loved this when I watched it when I got this Blu-ray. I've seen it before, probably when I was a kid I saw this. But this is like a giant, I think it's a giant robot. It's been a while since I saw this, but I remember I had a blast with this. And Jamie Lee Curtis is good. It kind of has the Alien vibe, but I think it's a giant robot at the end that it is killing these people on the ship or whatever it is. But it's just a fun sci-fi horror movie that I enjoyed the crap out of watching it again. So Virus with Jamie Lee Curtis, just sci-fi horror fun. Check it out. It kind of has it definitely has a late 90s vibe added to it. But yeah, just a fun time, I think. Now, I sort of like the Phantasm franchise, but there's one movie that I actually love out of the rest of them. Probably because it was released in the 80s. It's got the biggest 80s vibe. That is Phantasm 2. This is the one that I have the most fun with. It feels like the biggest. I love Angus Grimm as the tall man in this. I love some of the effects in this. And I just had like the best time with this one out of the whole series. The series is very weird, but this one just for me is like the most entertaining one of the series. And I think Phantasm 2 has the biggest budget, and that could be why I like it a little more than the others. And this one came out in 88, so this definitely has 80s vibe, and I just love 80s horror, so that could be why Phantasm 2 is my favorite of the series. Next we have it was actually a sci-fi original TV remake of an 80s slasher, the Slumber Party Massacre remake. I enjoyed the crap out of this movie. I don't know what it was, and they kind of reversed the roles where they kind of sexualized the guys in more parts than the girls, and like it was just kind of a fun take on the original. It's like the same concept, but I feel like they changed it up enough, and this movie just screams fun. I had so much fun with the Slumber Party Massacre remake that if you haven't seen this, if you're a fan at all of the original and you like slashers, I recommend this. This was just a fun time. Is it a perfect movie? No, but I feel like not enough people are giving this movie enough love when this movie was so enjoyable in my eyes. That was the Slumber Party Massacre remake. Silent Hill, the video game adaptation from 2006. Now, I don't think this is a perfect movie by any means, but I do think this movie has great visuals, and this movie has such a great vibe and atmosphere. That is the main reason why I'm putting this on here, because I think that a lot of people say this movie isn't that good, and I never played the video games. I can't claim if this is actually a good video game movie, but based on the vibes and just the atmosphere alone and some of the awesome visuals and just the mood of this movie, I have to put Silent Hill on this list because it's like so well done in that department. Is it the best storyline? Is it the best? It might not be the best storyline ever, but just for as visuals and vibe and just mood and atmosphere, this movie is amazing in those departments. So that is the Silent Hill remake, just pretty well done in my eyes. Okay, after Scream in the mid-90s, we have a slew of knockoffs, self-aware type teen horror movies, slashers, but I think the one that I like the most besides Scream out of the slashers is Urban Legend from 98, I believe. This is a killer going around killing people based off urban legends, and I think this movie holds up very well. This movie has an amazing opening sequence with a girl. She stops at the gas station. You got Brad Dourif playing a strange gas station attendant. Very creepy, very atmospheric beginning to the movie. It's a very underrated opening to a horror movie, I believe. And I think it has a stellar cast. Jared Leto, Tara Reid, just like such a good cast. And like this movie actually holds up a lot better than what I think it should have held up. But I have so much fun with Urban Legend. I have a lot of nostalgia for it too. But if it's been a long time since you've seen this, check this out. You might be surprised that it holds up very, very well. All right, the last underrated horror film I'm going to suggest today that I think you should definitely check out. It's a little 2000s movie called May. This is about like a chick just trying to find love or whatever, and she is very strange. This kind of has a definitely has a early 2000s vibe. Angela Battis gives like such a good performance in this. We even got like Anna Faris from Scary Movie in this, but overall I think this movie is very good. It's very well done. I think the performances are great. I think it's kind of got a weird, strange vibe to it, and it's also very, very low budget. But I think it kind of adds to it because Angela Battis has like a cool vibe. I don't know why she didn't do more horror movies. I think she did the TV Carrie remake and all that. But yeah, I enjoy the crap out of this. And this is kind of one of those movies that came and went years later, like nobody's talking about it. But yeah, cool, weird, strange movie that I can't recommend enough. That is May. Definitely check this out. Now guys, I gave you like 20 movies that I feel like are really underrated that aren't talked about enough, and definitely check some of those out if any of those seem cool to you. But yeah, definitely hit that like and subscribe button if you love all things horror. Evil Dead Rise is coming out this weekend. So excited for that movie. So I will definitely do a review for that coming out very soon. And then I will probably review Ash vs. Evil Dead, the TV series eventually, and then probably do a ranking and do some ranking videos for Evil Dead. But stay tuned, and I will definitely be seeing you guys really soon. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.